How you doing, guys? It's been a while. You would not believe how long it took me to set up this ridiculously simple shot. See, I've got the blue screen behind me, or you might be seeing the studio. I don't know how much we're doing today. I've got a lot of special effects that we're working on, finishing up for Jack vs. Lanterns. If you've been following, you know we've been working on this movie forever. And ever and ever and ever and ever. So, kind of want to, get that done. And the more effects I put in this, the longer this takes to put together. But I mean, here it is, almost May. I haven't brought you guys anything new except for a few clips this year. So I feel like, I should get out here and do something. And just yesterday, we did a video where I was having to match up sound from an external recorder to the camera, which, I mean, we do most of the time. But in this case, it was a complete necessity because we shot outdoors, and it was a very, very windy day. And here's the thing. We had Monique Perrin in the shot, we had Brewer Welch, and we had Carrie Ann Knowles. Carrie Ann came out about 2,000 times to do pickups for this thing. I mean, she was a real trooper on this movie. Anyone in North Carolina who's not working with this talented young lady who also makes sure she gets things done is missing out. So, if you're in the area and you're trying to get something shot and you need a leading lady, make sure you look her up. Monique, obviously, great to work with. My only problem on this shoot was I had to get her back to LA. I only had her for a few days. And so on the days that we were scheduled to shoot, we had to shoot. So we had the location on this day. It was a very windy day. Had to get shot. So we used an external mic, obviously. We also then, for the wide shots, the camera tends to be further away. I have a very wide angle lens on that Mark II, Mark III, my Canon 5D. It has a very wide lens, so I can get fairly close with the camera. And if you watch the clip that I'm going to show in a minute, you'll hear that you can hear the actors' voices, but there's clipping when the wind comes in, a lot of interference. At one time, you hear wind chimes, which Brewer stands up to stop. And it was very cold for them, so we want to get the shot rather quickly. But, excuse me one second. But what happened was, so because of the wind, not only did I use the external recorder, but, I put it in as close as I could. But so here's the thing. The thing that I dropped before I dropped again, and we'll stay there for a minute now. So I used an external recorder and an external microphone, and I was able to get it even closer to the actors than I could get the camera. You need to make sure it's out of the shot. Sometimes you can camouflage it depending on how large of a recorder you're using, like that little 8 gig thing we can do. But the microphone that I was using was still fairly big, and lavaliers I don't think would have worked very well in this situation. I guess it depends on how directional they are. But what I use is an old Schreiber acoustic, I believe it is. They're not around anymore. You can't find the microphone, but it is a very directional mic. You can get a Sennheiser now, shotgun that's very super directional. And we had it so that it was only picking up basically what was directly in front of it. And, of course, we had our little foam windscreen on. Now, any of you that have used these outside, you know that on a normal day for like a breeze that might blow by, one of your actors breathes too heavy or something, this might help. But on a windy day like this, it is not going to get the job done. And so here I'm going to go ahead and run the raw footage for you before we corrected the audio. I don't think this actual clip at all made it in to the shot. But because the lighting was better later on, we had some cloud cover and stuff, and I was able to get a better actually exposure also. But the two of them were exposed to the same Brewer and Monique's character. But watch the clip, and we'll be back in a minute to talk about some of the other things we did to mitigate the wind sound. Mark it and hold for wind. Shouldn't be more than 10 minutes. I didn't get most of that. And action.
You sure are pretty.
Don't overdo it, darling. We don't want the natives becoming suspicious before we get the paperwork signed.
I sure wish I knew what you were talking about half the time.
You sure don't.
All right, guys, so you saw that. You saw how uncomfortable the actors were. you saw how the actors were pretty sure that they were going to have a problem when we were shooting this. And the one great thing I did have going on was Monique and Brewer are not just film veterans, they're indie film veterans. So when I say, I need you to talk more loudly because we're competing with the wind, they knew what I meant. They knew that even though the microphone looked like it was right in their face, they needed to be projecting as if it was much further away. And so here's part of why. Even though I set it up very directionally, with the phone piece on, I added this. Some of you will recognize these little kind of fur attachments. This is not an official one. This is why I keep doing this. There's like fur floating all over the place because this is what I kept dropping. This is some faux fur that we use in a werewolf costume in the lunar pack. You can actually see this werewolf maybe twice in the lunar pack on Amazon Prime right now. So head over there and watch that because, Lord knows I can use the sixth sense when you watch a movie. So we had that on there. We had the phone piece on there. All of that, and you still heard wind. Now, that was not on the microphone that was used in the clip that you guys just saw. They were on the other mic. But then the other thing I wound up doing, the problem with that one, since it's not an actual wind muff, and it's not really made to work on a microphone, is it does block out a lot of the sound, like completely, which is why, again, the actors needed to project. But so the other thing I did was I had everybody be quiet. We set up the microphone. I brought the pickup down all the way until that wind was registering as maybe a 1 or a 2 on my little Zoom 2, the external recorder. When it was barely registering on either one of the channels, that was what I had the microphone set at. Then I had the actors do a test. We made sure that we could hear them. We could barely hear them. So in this clip you're about to hear, we did not do any wind cleanup in the clip I'm about to show you, but I did boost the audio by, I believe, 10. So the audio gain is set to 10 decibel noise. So you'll get an idea of how much we boosted it up and how little bit of what came back up with the sound was wind. So go ahead and listen to this, and I'll be right back. Mark it and hold for wind. Shouldn't be more than 10 minutes. I didn't get most of that. And action.
You sure are pretty.
Don't overdo it, darling. We don't want the natives becoming suspicious before we get the paperwork signed.
I sure wish I knew what you were talking about half the time.
You sure don't. Up, here we go.
Much better, right? Yeah, my hand went out of shot there, but much better, right? I mean, it's just, you can hear what they say. You can hear the wind blowing, which is fine. I mean, you see her hair blowing and everything, but she's not competing with the wind. Brewer's not competing with the wind sound the way they were in that first clip. Now here's the trick. There's 3 people in this scene, so Carrie Ann also is in the wide shots. The reversal shots, you can't hear her. You can hear her barely at all, no matter how much I boost it. Eventually, we're going to get to the point where we're boosting it so much, we're getting distortion. So one of the tricks here is to record both angles of your close-ups, every single line. Whether you think you're going to use it, that shot or not, record every line. Because in the reversal, you can always pull that audio from your other characters' close-ups. You don't see them, so you don't have to match it up with them. There's a little bit of a trick hiding it in there and keeping the little bit of wind noise that is there steady, not having echo, stuff like that. But the point of it is, in the wide shot, we couldn't get the microphone as close to either character as we wanted. It had to hide right under the camera. And you had to decide who it was pointed at. Was it pointed at Brewer and Monique, or was it pointed at Carrie Ann? And the thing is, in that wide shot, in the 3 shot, if you just had it pointing forwards, because of the way we had to close down the angle of pickup, it wasn't going to, it wasn't going to pick either one of them up. And if it's pointing at one of them, the other one sounds very far away. Of course, the other thing to do here is to use 2 microphones. So if you're lucky enough to be smart enough to bring both microphones that day, actually, I believe I did have my old ASDAM with me, but it was not up to the task of blocking out enough of the wind. It's a very old microphone. It doesn't have the quality that this one does. But so if you're lucky enough to have two microphones, you're probably lucky enough to have an audio person, and they're going to take care of all this for you. If you're like me and you're shooting with one mic that day, and it's on a stand and it's by itself, and you don't even have somebody there to monitor it that day, it's not easy making a movie for 4 digits. We make movies with 6-digit budgets if you count the digits that come after the decimal point. But so that said, you still want to get the best sound you can. So if you've only got the one microphone, that's the way to do it. Make sure you get everybody's close-ups. And then the other trick, which I wish I had thought of in this better, is for some of your 3 shots, do some over the shoulders. And it's easier to ADR somebody when you can only see part of their mouth moving and not, this dead-on thing that you need to lip sync. If you can only see their jaw or, from behind their head, it's a little bit easier to do. And then you can just have them come in studio or even record it on, if they've got a decent microphone. A lot of your actors now or actresses will have a setup where they can do voiceover work. And they can read the lines and send them to you. You send them the footage and they can try to match it up. But, and then the third option always is if a line drops out, have them do one and use the reverse angle for it. So have your reaction shots from your other characters, but clearly hearing that important line from the person you wish you could show a close-up of with it, but you just didn't get any decent audio that day. Pick that up from someone who reviewed the 1983 Hercules with Lou Ferrigno, and they realized that a lot of the time when there was a ton of dialogue from one of the actors who spoke Italian most of the time and whose voice was being dubbed, they would actually show the other characters' reaction shots for large portions of the dialogue because it's much easier to dub that. To have someone just say something and have the other guy, yes, while someone's talking to them, than to try and lip sync it. And so it saves you some trouble. So make sure you get everybody's close-up, so you have close-up audio where the microphone can get right in there. And make sure you have reaction shots for every single line said, especially in situations where you expect that the audio is going to be really rough to deal with. Because now you've got a lot more options. Go back and reference our video, Always Have a Cat, for fight scenes. It also applies to scenes like this where take B-roll. So like Monique's character was holding a glass of wine. I could have done some pickup shots with close-ups of the wine glass and her playing with that. Brewer's character was being very touchy-feely. And when you see the movie finally, it'll come into clarity why his character's acting like that in the scene. But so we could have done some close-ups of him stroking her hair, Carrie Ann's face, like, why is he doing that? Why is he acting so weird? And all of those kinds of cutaways that don't necessarily reference any lip movement at all are things you can use that once you've established in the wide shot that they're part of your shot, they're cutaways that you can use to bridge audio gaps, to have somebody put in voiceover without having to worry, is it going to sync up? Or to just pull your best piece of audio, even if it's not your best piece of video. I hope all that makes sense. I hope to be doing some more of these for you guys soon. Also, for some more filmmaking tips, more on behind indie filmmaking scene, please listen to my new podcast that I'm doing with Tina Desiree Berg over at B Cinema TV, B Cinema TV Talks. If you don't know how to find it, follow me on Twitter at HopeFolkProd, on Twitter. If you've been visiting our website, you might have noticed our address has changed. You can still access us through HopeFolkProd.com, but now you can also access us through HocusPocusProductions.com. Goes right to the same site. It does need to be updated. Anybody out there looking for an internship that wants to update it for me free or super cheap, let me know. And just keep track of us. The blogs. So we have the podcast. We have the regular blogs that you can access through my Jason's Diary on my website. I'll put some other links down here. Cult Goddess Magazine still has a blog, and there's now the indie review blogs. If you've got a movie you'd like reviewed by a fellow independent filmmaker who's going to give you a little bit of slack on the budget restraints, send it to me, and when I get a chance, I will send me a link. It's got to be available online either for free or included with one of the popular services. So Prime, Hulu, if it's on here on YouTube, is ad-based, ad-supported. Anything ad-supported is okay. But it's got to be accessible streaming without costing people like a specific amount just to watch that movie. That's part of how we do it. Partly because I get to see more movies that way, but also partly because people who are on strict budgets right now are looking for movies that they can see for free without actually stealing movies. Please don't pirate movies, guys. Don't pirate movies. Don't pirate movies. If you want to know why movies are being made for 4-digit budgets, it's because when you pirate a movie, getting back even a 4-digit budget is difficult. And we need to get back a 5-digit, figure to be able to actually have time to work on the movie as if it's our side gig and pay to make the movie. So if that math doesn't work for you, just don't watch the movie. All right, guys. I will try to be back to give you some more useful information. Also going to be doing a couple of more humor-based blogs. Very soon we'll be dealing with why it doesn't matter if you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. Please do wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. I'm just going to punch a hole in how safe you feel about doing that. But please do not skip doing that. Do that. I don't care who uses what bathroom. There's another video on here that kind of demonstrates that. But I don't care who uses what bathroom when, as long as they're polite in there and wash their hands before they leave. Please do that. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.